How's it going, guys? My name is Tavarish, and over the past 2 years, I've been working on this car, my $2 million McLaren P1, but it didn't always look like this.
Because when I got this car, it was absolutely trashed in the worst way imaginable. It was flooded in salt water, which meant we needed to take out every rusty bolt and panel and build it back up from scratch. But as if that wasn't challenging enough, I wanted to build the fastest McLaren on Earth. So we installed a new engine with twice the power of the original one and heard it fire up for the very first time. And while that was a big step forward, the engine we just put in had to come out again.
Because although this engine does run, the wiring was temporary. But in order for us to make it permanent, we have to remove it to make way for the scariest part of the build, the electrical system.
And that is no easy task because the McLaren P1 has hundreds of computers, modules, and sensors, which meant that the process of making a wiring harness was extremely time and labor intensive.
And this is the product of that labor. Now, is it complete? No. And is it tested? Also, no. But in today's episode, we're gonna do what everyone, including McLaren, thought was impossible. We're gonna have a homemade wiring harness try to start the most complicated car McLaren has ever built. And as an added challenge, we're gonna do it with all the factory computers and the original key. At least, that's the plan. This is probably impossible. I think this is impossible. Like, I don't see us doing this.
I believe in you.
You shouldn't.
If we're looking to rebuild this car better than the factory did, first we have to break it down to its core components, meaning that everything has to be unbolted, inspected, and upgraded. So undoing the P1's front suspension is first on the docket. I douse the rusted steel hardware with penetrating fluid, then try to loosen as much as I can without breaking it. Since the entire assembly can come off as one unit, I remove the 8 13mm bolts holding the control arms to the carbon fiber tub. Then I remove the large 19mm hydraulic lines from the sides of the shock assembly. The P1 uses a complicated hydraulic system to link all four wheels together, instead of traditional anti-sway bars, which can make things a bit more messy. The same disassembly happens on the rear suspension, which, just like the front, is made of machined aluminum and specific to the P1's unique suspension geometry. After the suspension delete is done, we're left with a more or less bare shell that is very overdue for one major procedure.
Okay, now finally we can get to what I wanted to do this entire episode, and that is the wiring. Super interesting stuff, but I have to take this car off of this lift because even though the door does open, we had to secure this because, well, the car is, it's a little bit like cattywampus on here. It might fall forward, might do a backflip, and well, we have to put it on something else. And that gives me the opportunity to kill two birds with one stone because I have had a problem in this car since I got it. And this is not a problem typical of most P1s. So this is the spoiler, and right now it's like a rain stick. Like, I can't get any of this sand out of here. All of that sand is still in parts of this car. Now, we have cleaned this car probably a good 20 to 30 times while we've taken stuff apart and put stuff back on. And if you look at my scale model here, you can see that, well, if you have sand on a P1, there's only so much you can do when you clean it off, you know? Like, you can clean it off and then, okay, it's fine, but then if you look at the inside, there's still sand in there. Now, the idea is I should be able to clean all the sand out of it if I do this. But this is a toy, and even though this is made with carbon fiber and lightweight materials, it still is the size of a car, so it would be impossible to turn this thing upside down. I think I found a way. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Careful, Tommy. Oh. That's a lot of sand. All right. This car is really wide. Also, it's leaking a lot. All right, so this little thing is called a rotisserie, and the chicken is going to be my P1. And the issue is that this rotisserie was borrowed from some people that usually do like Porsche race cars, and Porsche race cars are like this wide, and a P1 is like this wide. So we have to basically max this thing out, and this is all homemade. So I think we have one more little step to go. And if we raise this up, I think we should be good to clear, and this can go all the way upside down, and then we can get all of the sand out of this car. How exciting is this that we're gonna get the sand out of this car finally?
I mean, I've tried it like 14 times already. I know you've tried
it 14. I'm saying we're gonna do it now. Just be...
You promise?
I promise. You have to...
Now I'm excited.
You have to be optimistic.
I'm very optimistic.
Okay.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah,
you don't look optimistic now.
Rex, you ruined my mood now. Like I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore.
So I think we could just remove the side skirt.
The side skirt, the door skirt.
The door skirt, whatever you call it. Listen, man, I own a Honda.
We did tape the door to the, but it's also green tape, so it's. There we go. There we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
You're both pressing down.
All right.
Yes, I swear. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, look at that.
It's rolling.
Hold on. Hold on.
Let it go.
This is hard.
Okay, now I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay.
Oh my god. It is completely horizontal. Actually, you know what?
What?
What if we hold it? What? Sorry, my thing fell.
Now it's clear that putting a McLaren on a rotisserie was not in my regular routine. But there was something that I recently added to my routine that gave me the vitamins and minerals I need for a long wrenching session, and that's today's sponsor, AG1. If you haven't heard of AG1 Next Gen, then listen up because it is a game changer. It's a clinically studied daily health drink that combines a multivitamin, probiotic, and blend of superfoods into one scoop. And it's a comprehensive nutrition supplement that provides nutrients to support body, brain, and gut health. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more comprehensive powder or supplement on the market.
It's pretty good. Now I like taking it because it replenishes my daily nutrients and it increases my intake of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. But what that means is I feel more energized and my day just gets better because I'm more motivated to do the things I love to do. And it has a ton of other benefits like improving digestion, you have fewer cravings, and it supports your microbiome. And the biggest thing for me is it gives me a calming feeling, and that is 1000% needed in this shop with all the projects we have. If you want to try AG1, and I certainly hope you do, go to drinkag1.com/Tavarish. It's in the link in the video description below. You guys owe it to yourselves to try this out. Go check it out right now. Look at that. That is just reckless. You ever seen the underside of a P1 when it's right in front of you? Neither have I. So you can see right here all the damage that happened. And one reason why I wanted to do this as well is because I wanted to replace this. This is the subframe, and you can see even though this is aluminum, this is corroded, and the electrolysis just killed all this. So I have an actually new piece, and this is the same part number as in the McLaren MP412C. This you can find on eBay for next to nothing. Thankfully, AZ Cycle Parts had it, so shout out to AZ Cycle Parts. We had that powder coated in black, so this is all gonna go bye-bye. New panel is gonna go in, and this will also give me a chance to clean up all of this rust, all of these steel sleeves. We'll clean those up. Just leave that. But you can see where Joey did his work. Look at this, dude.
Dude, it's gonna be so much easier to clean this now.
Oh yeah. So Joey, the frame doctor, installed a new piece of carbon from the back to the front. And it's the same kind of carbon, and all this stuff it was put in very, very well. So yeah, this was just ripped this entire way, and now it's all good. So this is where the battery lived. Now we have to clean this. The battery had it was real angry. But the good thing about this rotisserie is we can actually take it outside, and we can use a pressure washer and then pressure wash everything. So that will be a clean cavity. Always make sure your cavities are clean, because if somebody goes snooping, then it's clean. Look at how much sand came out!
Where did those come from?
I don't know where that sand came out. Where did that come out?
I don't know, like...
It came out, did it come out of the...
I think it came out of that.
But this was powder coated.
And pressure washed.
This was powder coated and pressure washed, and still...
And we dry ice.
There's still sand.
And
yeah, we
yet
did.
the sand remains.
Nevertheless, the sand remained. Once this is clean, then this is going to be a lot easier to actually put the harness, the wiring harness in, and then we should be able to start this car. I mean, like, have all the electronics work. And when I say should, I mean I hope to everything that is holy that is what happens, because oh boy, have we been working hard on this thing for many, many, many months. And I wanna see this car on the road.
With the P1's underbody completely exposed, I could tackle the only big piece of the car that had any corrosion, the front subframe. And although it is made of aluminum, the fact that the high voltage battery discharged in the very salty ocean water meant that the raw aluminum was the first to experience corrosion. I doused whatever rust I could find with another helping of penetrating fluid, then removed every bolt I could find, and that's when I ran into a slight issue. The tiny bolts on the front radiator support were held on with a thin 4mm Allen head and were seized because of the saltwater corrosion. But at the same time, the bolts themselves were too soft for me to try to remove without stripping them, which is exactly what ended up happening anyway. So this is a process that requires a lot of patience, sort of like waiting for a new P1 update. But if you're a member of my channel, you can get access to perks like picture and video updates, live chats, special merch, and early access to videos so you can see them before they drop to the public. And every dollar goes to supporting projects like this one. And you can check this out right below the video where it says join. Now, removing a strip bolt that goes into carbon fiber is a bit harder than usual, because the last thing you want to do is put an extra hole in a part that has a phone number as a price tag. I carefully cut a horizontal slit into the bolt head and used an impact tool with a hammer to force the bolt loose. What this tool does is it converts the hammer hit into turning force, which should, in theory, break the bolt loose. I then found that a drill works just as well as the impact tool did, as long as you give it enough force to pinch a nerve in your arm. And with the radiator support down and mostly undamaged, I went to work removing the bolts holding the subframe onto the car, which included the steering rack mounts, power steering pump, and a few electrical grounds that were simply cut off for obvious reasons.
Certainly this is the first time the subframe has been taken off this P1. There we go. There we are. There. Is it connected somewhere here? It's okay. All right. Look at that. Yeah, she's a little worse for the wear, you know? I figure a little bit of degreaser and we're gonna throw that away.
With the last rusty part of the P1 finally off its chassis, I realized that most, if not all, of the hydraulic lines, pumps, and sensors that were on this P1 were shared with other McLarens and easily found used for not much money, despite being pretty important suspension parts on a 7-figure hypercar. And with that bit of good news, I was amped for the next step.
Now this is the part of the build that I've been waiting for a very, very long time. We're gonna try to get every bit of sand out of here. Now I thought I would just use a power washer, but then Jack said, well, power washing might just put a bunch of sand in like corners, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. So I'm gonna use this long wand with a little, it's just a hose, and we're gonna have highly compressed air to blow out everything here. And I have this, we're in a pandemic, and I'm gonna use...
That was 5 years ago.
This was 5 years ago, so I don't know how old this is, but this is gonna be good. If this can shield me from a deadly virus, then a little bit of sand shouldn't be a problem, you know? Also, it is 1,000 degrees outside. So let's see what happens. I should probably shield my eyes too. You know what? I'm just gonna do it. That works pretty good, but that's really loud. My ears are gonna be ringing. Okay. I'm gonna wear some hearing protection, and I'm gonna get Tommy some too, but you can't hear anything anymore, right?
Wait, what did you say? One more time.
Okay, there we go. So I've removed my chin diaper, and now I have full PPE, and now we're gonna really get some work done.
What I've learned from this process is that there's no rule book, and I was probably the only person on the planet doing this exact job. I used some diluted degreaser on the carbon tub, making sure not to agitate with anything that could leave a mark. I used a soft nylon brush to get some discoloration and salt residue off, and then went over the coated metal lines that ran from the front to the back of the car. Although I believe these lines are stainless steel, they held up flawlessly against the saltwater bath, which is more than I can say for the aluminum valve block for the suspension. Yikes. And after everything was dry, I moved on to the P1's Cave of Wonders.
So this cavity is pretty unique to McLaren's. This is where the battery would live in any other P1. And in this one, it's, well, it's seen better days, but I have cleaned it up quite a bit. Battery basically exploded in here, but what's good is that this carbon fiber shell actually held everything in place. And even though there was a battery fire in here, it didn't burn the car down. So that's actually really, really cool. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna take out all of the corrosion and all the battery acid and all that stuff, and make this a livable space. We can probably turn this into like a terrarium or like a little aquarium. You know, we can have fish in here. There's a little porthole. You know, the possibilities are endless. So what's funny is, see outside, this is finished carbon fiber and it's nice and smooth, but inside it's just the underside of carbon fiber, so there's strands of crap everywhere. The carbon fiber is just laid on top just almost randomly, and you can see that this is the other side of the mold where they peeled off the plastic. So this is the side of McLaren that you weren't supposed to see. I'm really excited, you know, just having a clean P1 without any sand. That just puts a smile on my face. We're never getting rid of all the sand, are we?
No. And you already know that.
No, absolutely not, yeah.
But hey, you get an A for effort.
There we go. Get an S for sand.
While no one would ever see this part of the car, it's important that it's as clean as it can be, because I have some very big plans on how to repurpose it. I sprayed down the interior footwells, then scrubbed them down, and then noticed that things looked a bit familiar.
So here's a fun fact that I bet you guys didn't know. Now, the usual McLarens like the MP412C, 650S, 675LT, they all had basically variations of the same carbon tub. But the P1 was special. So the original McLaren carbon tub was called a monocell, and this was called a monocage because it had this cage element. The monocell was basically just like a half tub, and then the top part was aluminum or aluminium. Now, McLaren aren't going to make an entire tub out of whole cloth. So what they did is they had the regular tub, and then they just glued this top part on, and you can see where the P1 section is glued on. And you know, obviously this is different carbon, and look at that. You can just see where it's just bonded on. And I'm not saying it's cheaply done. It's very well built, but it's not necessarily 100% bespoke, but nobody is gonna see this. So from like the waist down, a P1 and like a 12C are the same car. So another thing that's cool about this rotisserie is that I thought that there was like this stud in here that just snapped off, and what I found out was that I could push that into the tub and then I can fish it out with this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hopefully, am I gonna hear anything? Oh, I think I heard something. Oh, look at that. So this snapped off and it took the riv nut with it, but that's okay because I just pushed it through the tub and now I got it. So we just replaced the riv nut, replaced the bolt, and we're good to go. This is actually working out pretty good. Still a lot of sand though.
Even after cleaning thoroughly, just look at how much dust, sand, and debris was still inside the carbon tub. But even though this orange-colored stuff looked to be something possibly left over from the factory, I wanted to make sure every molecule of sand was off this car. And that meant a few more hours of standing in the hot Florida sun, cleaning my P1. And while I was melting, Shop Dad Jack was in the air-conditioned shop with problems of his own.
Hey, morning. So today we are going to take out all the bushings, ball joints. I already got one done. This is our end, how we want to have everything out. So the reason we are cutting is because they put it together with these little bolts, and they put red Loctite on and this little Allen head, and they strip out, and we ended up breaking one ear off, cutting here. As you can see, I'm just about through with this one, and once I cut it off, and then I'll push it out that way, and then we'll got two more arms there, and then we got all the front suspension to do. So here we go.
While this may look a bit barbaric, I can assure you we tried absolutely everything to remove these parts without destroying them. But McLaren's engineers felt it necessary to make life just a bit more difficult for us. With the anodized aluminum ears off the bushing, Jack used a screw-type press and removed the control arm bushings. He then repeated the process of cutting off the bushing ends with a portable bandsaw, then pushed out the insides with the press. The lower control arms required circlips to be removed, and then the hub assembly was taken apart. Now, usually you would never ever want to take a hub off with a hammer because the wheel bearing inside could get damaged. But since I'm not using these wheel bearings anyway, I gave the go-ahead for Jack to swing away. The final step was removing the ball joints, which required the use of two-prong pullers, a hammer, and a very long punch. Now, McLaren certainly didn't make things easy, but it was no match for decades of experience and the promise of a cold pack of beers to celebrate a job well done. And with yet another piece of the P1 puzzle taken down to its bare components, I laid everything on the table to show exactly how far we've come.
And here is what I'm talking about. Now, we are now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, in the final assembly phase of the P1. And that means that I can't just put on any part. The parts that I put on have to be refurbished, they have to look brand new, and they have to look a little bit better than they did from the factory. So these are the shocks, the suspension from the P1, and although these do have 300 miles on them, since they were in the water, I'm willing to bet that the seals inside are probably not great, considering if you look over here, first of all, they're leaking, but if you look right here, the copper washers are now a nice brown rust. And these have leaked. There was a lot of pressure in the lines and the pressure just kind of leaked out. So these are actually going to Poland to a company called Nagengast. I think I'm saying that right. And these are going to be rebuilt with OEM seals and looked over to make sure that, well, they don't look rusty and they perform exactly as needed. But if we come over here, this is something that I actually don't know if it's gonna work. Now, the brakes on the P1, you see that we've already powder coated them. My friend Jonathan from Luxury Choices, they are awesome. I love the gold. I love the translucent gold on these, and they're great for the calipers, but then you go to the pads, and these are the pads for P1. And for my P1, they're really kind of rusty. These are not in great shape, but we have to reuse these, and the reason why is because the pads on a regular automobile, like the car that you have or I have or any other person would drive on the road, an expensive brake pad option would probably be $150. The front and rear brake pads on a McLaren P1 are $16,000. And these aren't any pads that you can get from any other McLaren. They are bespoke, they are custom to the P1 because these are Akebono brake pads. It says right here, I don't know if you can see that, it says made in Japan. And these have a lot of life left on them, but they are very rusty because they were in salt water. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take these pads, we're gonna take the parking brake calipers, because these are also not in great shape, and we're gonna take the rotors. The rotors, by the way, each one is $20,000. So there's $80,000 in rotors and $16,000 in pads. Really, really expensive stuff. We're gonna take these to the dry ice lab so we can clean them, and hopefully we can put these back on the car and no one will know that the car was in a really, really bad flood.
If you're a returning viewer, then you guys know how useful the dry ice cleaning services of Scott from the Dry Slab can be. But if you're new, then welcome to what may be the most satisfying part of the video. In a nutshell, dry ice cleaning uses high-pressure air and solid CO2 to clean nearly any surface, including the corroded, insanely expensive P1 brakes. You'll notice I have two sets of rotors, and that's because I actually got a spare used set from a pre-production prototype from a friend. But although they weren't water damaged, the 300-mile flooded rotors seem to clean up a bit better and have more life left on them, so cleaning them up and putting them back on the car was probably our best bet. I spray the underside of the aluminum rotor hat, removing any leftover sea creature residue, and spray inside the rotor itself. The holes you see are cut in a way that balances the entire rotor, and helps with cooling since these rotors can get so hot on track they can glow red and set parts of the car on fire. With the rotors as clean as I could make them without using sandpaper, the guys at Nagangast got busy taking my P1 suspension apart and testing it for leaks. And just as we did with the rest of the car, they took the complicated hydraulic suspension down to its core components. They then pressurized the shocks and tested the electronics for the correct resistance. And as it turned out, everything was 100% functional, including the ride height adjustment, which is pretty cool to see working off the car. And with a clean bill of health, they could be sent back to me so I could install them on the P1. But I still had more to cross off my to-do list.
So the next step in sending stuff out is this exhaust, at least the back box, the back section of the exhaust that was made by Chris from Unobtainium Welding, and this is the Unobtainium P1 exhaust. It's complete titanium, and it was made custom right here. And I'm not sending it out because there were any mistakes made or anything like that. It's because Chris, the owner of Unobtainium Welding, told me that he wanted to finish out this section right here. So this is stock on the P1. There's some tolerances here, and he wanted to close everything out so it looks as factory as possible. This is made of a metal called Inconel, and Inconel is used in F1, and it has really good heat properties and dissipation and blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm keeping this titanium raw metal, and the reason I'm doing that is because when titanium gets heated up a lot, which this car will definitely do, it turns this color, it turns purple. And I've done that on my 675 LT. I had a brand new titanium exhaust, and now it's purple, and this is going to be the same thing, so I want a purple exhaust. I'm sorry, I'm a hot boy. This right here is something that I've been wanting to do for quite a long time. These arms are off the car, and they are, well, they're aluminum, or aluminium if you're in the UK, and you can see that when we took out the bearings, all this rust and junk is still on here. What I want to do is I want to powder coat these. So we're going to take this to my friend Jonathan at Luxury Choices, and we're going to powder coat these because I don't just want a P1 that looks stock. I want a P1 that looks like it is the best P1 in the world. And I'm taking a cue from the Pagani Huayra, the Pagani Huayra R, and it has powder coated suspension components, and it just looks fantastic. They're powder coated like bronze, so I think we're gonna do a bronze, like a dark bronze on this, and that will accent well with, you know, the titanium and then the gold here on the hydraulic lines. And honestly, I mean, it's just gonna look, it's gonna look fantastic. It's gonna look like this car is really expensive because, yeah, because it was very expensive. We should get these powder coated.
So I'll let you in on a little secret when it comes to building cars. When you have a big project like this one, you depend on a lot of other people to finish work so you can move forward. And that comes with a lot of stress and worry because it's out of your hands. But one person I have never had to worry about in my years of experience with him is Jonathan at Luxury Choices. While most powder coaters have a 2-week turnaround time, Jonathan gets things done in 2 days. And in some cases, 24 hours, which is unheard of. Now, powder coating is a process like painting, except it makes the surface very durable and it looks great for a very long time. And, just like paint, the quality you get out of it all depends on the prep work you put in. Jonathan first strips the part with a media blaster, which is a high-pressure air gun with an abrasive that removes any paint on the surface. He then uses a high-temperature tape and rubber plugs to mask off all the parts of the suspension we don't want painted. This step is crucial because the powder coat actually adds to the surface material, and if you have a press-in part that requires exact specs, it would be like shoving a square peg in a round hole. Then he hangs the part on a metal rack and energizes it with low-voltage electricity. Powder coating works by spraying a dry powder on electrically charged material, and the powder uniformly coats the part, nearly eliminating overspray and giving you a very smooth finish. And after the base coat, Jonathan goes one step further by using a clear powder coat, so it's not only glossy, but the part has twice the protection against the elements. It's then placed in a giant oven to bake, and the results are spectacular. What wasn't spectacular, however, was the troubling news I got back at the shop.
Okay, so now is the part of the build where I put the wiring harness in and make sure all the computers work, and I turn the car on with the key and everything works as intended, except for the fact that we can't do that right now. The computers I actually had sent out to a company in California, and everything was very, very promising up until a point where now I don't know where my computers are. Now, I don't know if something happened to the guy that I was talking to. Maybe he had a family emergency or something. I'm not saying that this was any sort of nefarious anything, but the fact remains I don't have my computers, and I sent him the original computers, the flooded computers. So this is an example of what came out of the car, and you can see, look at this. This is, I think, for the radio or stereo or something, and look, you can see there's still salt in it. This is the amplifier, stock amplifier. Yeah, that has a lot of Naples sand in it. So I sent him these computers, and they actually got data off them and cloned them onto new computers. And the craziest thing happened. I sent them the old gauge cluster and they got it running. The stock gauge cluster, the 300-mile gauge cluster from my P1, they got it turning on. You can see the P1 logo. I'll show a picture here, but I just don't have my computers right now. And honestly, I can't test the harness without them. So that's the bad news. We still are gonna have to wait for that. But the good news is that I just got a part for this engine that is gonna set it apart from any other McLaren build, and especially any other P1, and that is this thing right here. Take a look at this. This is a intake manifold from a McLaren Senna. And you'll notice that the entire thing is made entirely of carbon fiber. This is the rarest part you can get from a McLaren because only the McLaren Senna had this part. And I've been told by some people in the McLaren tuning community that if you add this to a build, it adds 100 horsepower. I don't know how true that is. I'm gonna call BS on that, but it is the coolest thing I have ever seen. So, first off, it's super light. It doesn't weigh anything. The heaviest things are the throttle bodies right here because they're made of aluminum or aluminium. But if you look underneath, It's completely hollow. Look at that. Like, you can stick your hand all the way in there, and these runners are specifically designed for very high RPM. This is exactly what we're gonna need, because our engine is gonna go to 9,000, maybe 9,500, maybe even 10,000 RPM. I don't know what the final rev limit is gonna be, but this is gonna make sure that we have all the power that we need. Now, the price of this was a lot. It was a lot. It was very, very expensive. But if you were to get this new from McLaren, it's $25,000 just for the intake manifold without any of the accessories here. This one was used. I got it from my friend at Hybrid Performance in the UK. He's always getting me the rarest parts. He's the one that got my roof scoop on my 675 LT, and this was the find of all finds. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take off the injectors and the intake manifold off the stock engine, which is a 720 base, and I'm gonna sit them side by side so you guys can see the differences. Now, I'm not gonna install this right now because I still wanna do some modification to this. I wanna have a clear coat on this, and I wanna clean it up a little bit. But I want you guys to see what the difference is between a 720S and a McLaren Senna. Also, the people that are saying this P1 is just a 720, now, I have an intake manifold that is from the McLaren Senna, the 4-liter engine that has been heavily reworked by Cannonball Garage, and it can put out 1,400 plus horsepower, and I have custom-made turbos that came from Mitsubishi and were engineered by Tachyon, who were the original manufacturers of the P1 turbos. So this is the most custom P1 that has ever been built. So I feel like I just gotta start taking stuff apart because I'm excited and I want to show, you know, myself what the difference between these manifolds are. Also, if you look at this manifold, it's aluminum and it looks kind of, I mean, it's fine, but it's not special enough. When you look through the glass engine cover, and hopefully I do have a glass engine cover, and you see the engine in this thing, people are gonna freak out, and I hope they do, because yeah, it's a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I'm taking out the injectors as well because if you guys saw the Wheeler Dealers World Tour episode, we did install some bigger injectors, but for the first firing of the car, we actually put the stock ones back in. So we did some, you know, back and forth on the wiring, but now that, you know, we're in more of a final assembly mode, I will be putting the correct injectors in this car, and those injectors are about 5 times bigger than the stock ones that are fitted to this engine. Also, I'm getting rid of this harness because it was modified to make the car run, and I have another engine harness that's going on here. And the engine harnesses actually aren't that expensive on McLaren's because they're kind of small and compact. There we go. Okay. That. Comes off to the side. This is the air oil separator and little PCV system, positive crankcase ventilation. And we're going to put that to the side. And we should be using the catch can, so we might modify that at a later date. That is not today Freddy's problem. We have a fuel rail right here, throttle bodies that we need to take off, and then the intake manifold just comes off. It actually is fairly simple. So let me take off the crossover tube. So those of you that don't know, McLaren actually have bolt heads that are one size smaller than they should be. So this bolt, the thread and the pitch, it's actually an M6 by 1.0, which is typically a 10 millimeter bolt head, but because it's McLaren and they want to save weight, it's an 8 millimeter. So it's like one size down. It's a little weird, and I know I'm getting really geeky. I'm so sorry. But this is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. So now you get to know it. All right, take off this crossover tube. Like that. And there's O-rings inside, so I want to make sure I'm not to damage them. There we go. That. And our makeshift fuel line that went into a bucket But we can just put that off to the side over here. Still smells like fuel. Wow. Also, there's this guy, which is not needed. This is what's called a Simposer. And the Simposer, the Senna does not have. And what it does is it creates fake engine sounds. Well, actually has real engine sounds, but it pipes them through the car. And the problem with this is not only is it like, it's a bit of a poser thing, but these tend to leak boost. So when you get rid of them or you just put a block off plate, that actually helps out the performance of the car quite a bit. I wonder how many times I've actually taken apart this specific engine. it's quite a lot. Now we're gonna take the throttle bodies off. And you want to make sure to snap your wrist every time this happens. There we go. That wasn't too bad. Now the throttle bodies for the regular car, regular 720, and honestly every McLaren are exactly the same. At least I think so. So McLaren engine builder is going to be like, actually they have a different diameter by 0.3 millimeters. But I think they're all the same. They just use the same Bosch stuff that everybody uses. And it's reliable and it gets the job done. One thing I actually don't like is the fact that these are, they're not left and right, meaning that they're not mirror images of, like, so this is one orientation, and for the other one, they just put it like that. Like, for me, I feel like a car that is $300,000 or more should have throttle bodies that are like kind of symmetrical, and you don't have this or mounted upside down. I'm just nitpicking here. I'm just really nitpicking. But like if you look over here, take a look right here. So this is one orientation, and for this, they just like, where is it? So it's like that, and then they just pop it on the other way. But if this was back here, then I'd pay 1.4 million for one of these. That's what makes the difference.
It would be 1.9 million if it was.
It'd be 1.9. Yeah, because I had to develop that one extra throttle body. I feel like there should be a speed run of taking one of these things apart.
Like the Super Mario game?
Yeah, we'd have to be in the top 10. Like we'd have to glitch though, do a backwards long jump right into the car. And now I think we can take this guy off. And there are 16 injectors. The earlier cars, the 3.8 liters, only had 8, and they doubled up on this for redundancy and better fuel management and whatnot. But it should be 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we are. So if you take a look at these injectors as well, they have these long, I guess runners or something. The aftermarket injectors don't have this length, and this apparently is only for emissions. It has nothing to do with fuel atomization or anything. You actually get a better spray if they're shorter, but yeah, the more you know. This is becoming a really geeky technical episode. I just lost all my audience.
We could bring them back by telling them that those injectors are the same ones from the Pimp My Ride van.
Oh, wow, yeah. There you go. So, still has some fuel in it. That's nice. Put that right there.
Ooh, we can see it.
Oh, yeah. Sweet. So, now we just do the same thing to the other side. And then we should be Gucci. There we go. Haha. So that could work at McLaren. It's not hard. So it's way harder doing this in the car.
We should do a video with your Lego P1.
Oh yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, what we should do is we should get done with the first bag and then just have it on hold for a year.
That's messed up, man.
It'll be just like the real thing.
Why you gotta talk about my friend Freddie like that?
Okay, now we take the intake manifold off. Also, a telltale sign that you know that this engine has been gone through is right here. So this is aftermarket ARP hardware, and that is keeping the cylinder head on. We have done a lot of work. And a 1, and a 2, and a... Look at that. It was meant for it. Oh, look at that. Actually, this isn't too heavy. It is aluminum. So let's look at this side by side, right off the bat. And don't worry about me, having this on the table. It's a plastic table. So look at this. This is already way taller, and it puts the throttle bodies out further. So we're gonna have to modify some intercooler hoses, but that's okay because we'd have to modify them anyway because of the engine. But man, that is a big difference. The important bit is that the ports all line up. They're in the same place. We do have this sensor, which I believe is the pressure sensor. And that sensor actually lives in here. So if we were to change it, which we absolutely need to do, we will just, change it there. The intake manifold would have to come off. Now, if you look at this, you can see the runners inside. Since this is carbon fiber, there's no like casting flash or anything like that. And casting flash is this stuff. I don't know if you can see, like, it's just not as smooth as it needs to be. A lot of times people that modify their cars will smooth this out with a Dremel, and that technically means that the airflow is a little bit less turbulent, but because this is carbon fiber, everything is super smooth already, just as, a process. So there's aluminum end caps here, aluminum throttle bodies, but the rest is completely bonded carbon fiber. And yeah, there's gonna be a big difference, like a super, super huge difference. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put this on the engine just to see what it looks like. See if it fits. I mean, it should. Oh, whoa, look at that.
Dude.
That is a P1 Evo engine right there, if I've ever seen one.
Damn.
That is crazy. That's gonna look so dope. That's gonna look so dope. I'm glad that we got that out of the way because I actually have another bit of bad news. And what I'm talking about is this right here. This is the transmission for my P1, the original transmission, and we have cleaned it up a little bit, but as you can see, it still is a little bit corroded, and that is the problem. You see, I took the clutch out, and yes, there is an actual clutch. It's a dual clutch transmission. It's like a clutch unit from inside this transmission, and I sent it to Dodson Motorsport, and Dodson are going to modify it so it can withstand something like 1,400, 1,500 horsepower, and that's all well and good, except for the fact that when it got to New Zealand, where Dodson modifies all their clutches, they told me that because of rust, they can't do anything with that clutch. And this is, it's not good, because yeah, there was like a little bit of rust on the clutch, and they said they could probably get that off, but the stuff that they don't see on the inside would make it so I don't know if the car is going to handle any power, and it's generally going to be a bad time, especially for a performance engine that we want to take every horsepower out of. So I'm going to take the clutch out of this, which is my spare transmission, the original transmission from my 675 LT, which should be identical to that of the P1. And this was crashed into a little bit, but the clutch should be fine. It should have relatively low miles. It's not 300 miles, but it's also never been in a flood. And this also is really heavy. So, okay, that's like super heavy.
Yeah, it took 3 of us.
It took 3. Okay, cool. We just need to like put this on its side here. So I can, maybe if I pivot it like this. There we go, like that. Look at that. See? Perfectly fine. I think my back broke. Oh, this is leaking. That's leaking a little bit. That doesn't look like fresh oil. Anyway, we're gonna pretend we didn't see that. And a 1, and a 2, and a... There we go. Haha. Look at that. This is the clutch assembly from the 675 LT, which should be the same as the P1, and we just lift it up and lift it out. So what I think we can do is use this transmission. I'm gonna have to modify it a little bit with the mount, but this transmission should be exactly the same. We have to swap some parts out, but this one hasn't been in a flood, and everything here looks fine. It doesn't look like it's been grenaded. So I think this is gonna be our best bet, because I don't wanna put all this effort and all this time into this car and then have the transmission just let us down. So now, all we gotta do, box this up and take this to New Zealand. That's one more part that's gonna go across the world so this car can live. And this is a reality of building one of these cars, especially as custom as we're going. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about and wanted to show you guys is this. This is the front clamshell, and it's not the original front clamshell of the car. This was actually made by my friends at Exotic Car Gear. And this is completely exposed carbon. It has a herringbone weave. It has seen some dust, but it's okay, because this is gonna look amazing, especially with the candy paint. However, there have been a few developments in the body situation on this car. Now, you guys saw the renders that I made for this car with the GTR bodywork, but the stock aero, and it looks amazing, and I love the look of that car. Now, I know the guys from Exotic Car Gear are super happy to help with this project, and they did an amazing, amazing job on this. But this clamshell and this body are gonna get modified a lot, because this is version 1, but today we're gonna see the P1 Evo's final form.
Now let me start by saying that I never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be able to take on a project this ambitious. And although we certainly did shoot for the moon, I think that what we've already done to this car and the McLaren platform in general has been nothing short of a dream. But a funny thing happens when you try and make your dreams come true. Like-minded people come out of the woodwork to help you achieve your goal. And when I got an invitation from one very special person to talk about my project, I dropped what I was doing and hopped on a plane to the UK with a goal of turning my dinky little YouTube rebuild project into a true one-of-one, world-beating hypercar.
And that leads me to right here and right now, because I am here to see a very, very special person. And that guy is right here. This is Frank Stephenson, and you might know him as a designer of a lot of cars that are iconic to me and iconic to a lot of other people. So the new Mini, the Ferrari F430, Maserati MC12, and a ton of McLaren. So you got the MP412C, 650S, 675 LT, I like that one, and the P1. So this is the designer of the P1, and today, we're gonna be designing a custom body for my P1 Evo, and I am very, very excited. Also, hello.
Freddie?
Yes, yes, Frank.
Nice to meet you, yes.
Nice to meet you. So Frank leads Frank Stephenson Design, and now Frank Stephenson Automotive.
Right. Freddie, I know we got in contact roughly about a month ago, and we hadn't met before, of course. First point of contact, I guess. And you mentioned that you'd like to take your P1 to an extreme level.
Yes.
And I love extreme, and I love breaking records and doing things that people think are a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the only way we really move on.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you want to do something that really makes an impact, you have to do something that nobody else would actually believe is possible.
Yes.
And your proposal, which I guess we'll get into in a moment, is to make something that really stands out.
Yes.
And that's, it's like the mafia. It's an offer you can't refuse. And
I like that. I really like that analogy.
Now, I can't stress how important this is to me personally. To have the original designer of an already iconic hypercar believe in your project so much that he wants to offer a custom design to help achieve your goal, that's a level of crazy that I never thought possible. We sat down and went over the several sketch ideas that both he and his team came up with. including making design changes on the fly. And if you want to watch the entire design and consultation process from start to finish, I'll be uploading that on my second channel soon, so you guys can see firsthand what really goes on in the mind of someone who created the car in the first place. And it was clear with these new designs that the world hadn't seen anything yet. This was more than me speccing out a car at a dealership. It was creating a custom car from scratch with the DNA that made it one of the most iconic and significant vehicles in history, with the blessing of the person in charge of its initial design. I couldn't wait for the guys at Frank Stephenson Design to come back with a rendered concept for my P1 Evo. But that's not what they did. They came back with 3. Now keep in mind, these are design concepts that will be going through performance testing and changes as we move closer to completion. But every version is a possible solution for making not only the fastest McLaren in the world, but the most striking, the most exclusive, and without a doubt, the most insane car I've ever seen. And here's what makes each version special. This aggressive gold-colored design has a sharp dual-element rear wing that flows from the added long-tail section with strakes, and joins up with the center roof scoop like a shark's fin or lion's mane. Custom turbine wheels are hidden under stationary body-painted semicircle aero discs to improve airflow, and the front end is completely reworked with a bigger center opening and exit for the oil cooler, but smaller openings for the sides. Large scalloped vents are put on the fender to get rid of high pressure in the wheel well, very necessary when you're trying to dropkick the horizon. And the door has a new body line that follows from the front bumper, changing the side profile from a slim cheetah about to pounce to a peregrine falcon diving to triple-digit speeds to catch its next meal. Out back, there's a gigantic titanium exhaust, and the taillights are relocated to the wing uprights. The rear is also completely open, showing the mechanical details inside. And even though the car is completely unique, there's no mistaking that this is a P1. The next design follows the same ideas, but makes the wing a single plane but much wider, and softens the lines a lot. The aerodisc elements on the wheels are mounted centrally, and the custom color I came up with, called Amber Dawn, is on full display with exposed carbon fiber bodywork and gold accents, which will actually be turned gold leaf in the real car. Every angle is more striking than the last, and it certainly looks like it's going 300 miles an hour just standing still. And the final design is much more understated and trades the whale tail wing for a fin that travels down the length of the car in the style of a Le Mans prototype race car. This will also include the functionality of the P1's active rear wing. And although the stock wing shape is just a placeholder for now, with the wing up, it looks incredibly purposeful and aggressive. And as excited as I was, I took some time to make some Photoshop adjustments to see the car in some different scenarios, and I absolutely can't wait to get started on one of these 3 amazing designs. Now please let me know which ones you'd prefer in the comments. Now I am going to move as fast as I can on this, but make no mistake, we're making a hypercar the world has never seen, and it will take some time. But I truly hope you guys enjoy this process as much as I do, so subscribe to this channel to stick around to the end of this build. And having said that, this project has been a ton of work, and there's no way I would ever do something of this magnitude ever again. Unless